on Instagram. That's why this weird as fuck to me. But when you, Chrisean, try to act like motherfuckers speaking on that's unsolicited, motherfuckers care because I was right there when this shit blew the fuck up. Are you delusional? That's what.
Nobody thought Marsh would ever snap. Nobody thought he, of all people, would be the one to quietly disappear for 3 days, wipe his socials, cut off his team, and come back with eyes full of pure vengeance. But after what Chrisean Rock did after she humiliated him, exposed him, dragged his name into a fight he never started, Marsh didn't just get angry. He started plotting. And tonight, that plan finally leaked. A private group chat, a deleted voice note, a DM nobody was supposed to see. And every single message points to one terrifying thing. Marsh is done being disrespected and he wants Chrisean to pay. It all started with a video Marsh never meant for the public. A shaky, late-night clip of him pacing his living room, fists clenched, shirt half torn like he'd just come back from a fight. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He didn't name names. He whispered, "She should have never tried me. She thinks I won't hit back? Okay, watch." Within minutes, fans were panicking. Who is he talking about? This better not be Chrisean. He sounds dangerous. Marsh is plotting something for. But the most chilling moment came when the camera accidentally caught a board behind him, a board with printed photos, red marker circles, arrows, dates, even Chrisean's sister's name scribbled in the corner. It looked less like drama, and more like a revenge map. Someone zoomed in, enhanced the image, and spotted one phrase under Chrisean's picture. Phase 1. Humiliation. Phase 1? How many phases were there? How far was Marsh planning to go? And why did the leaked voice note end with the words, "I'll ruin her the same way she ruined me, but I'll do it smarter"? This wasn't pettiness. This wasn't clout chasing. This was a man who had finally broken. And Chrisean? She has no idea what's coming. Before Marsh ever drew a revenge map, before he whispered threats in the dark, before he circled Chrisean Rock's face with a red marker like she was a target in a psychological thriller, there was a history the world never understood. People think Marsh is soft because he doesn't yell online. They think he's passive because he avoids drama. They think he's harmless because he doesn't brag, doesn't flex, doesn't start fights. But the truth is the opposite. Marsh avoids confrontation because when he finally snaps, he becomes someone else entirely. And Chrisean was the one person reckless enough, chaotic enough to push him past that breaking point. It didn't start with a fight. It didn't start with a leaked clip. It didn't even start with beef. It started months earlier, when Marsh tried to help Chrisean behind the scenes. He was one of the few people who didn't laugh behind her back. The one who didn't treat her struggles like entertainment. The one who didn't bring up Blueface every 5 seconds to get a reaction. Marsh saw her differently, a girl drowning in chaos, trying to breathe through the noise. They weren't best friends. They weren't dating. But there was respect. Private respect. So when Chrisean spiraled online, Marsh tried to calm her. When she felt attacked, Marsh defended her. When she cried at random hours, he answered her messages. He never told anyone, never bragged about their conversations, never tried to flip it into clout. But Chrisean isn't good with genuine people. She doesn't know what to do with someone who isn't trying to use her. She doesn't know how to handle kindness without feeling cornered. And Marsh learned that the hard way. The night everything shifted, Chrisean was drunk on a live stream, yelling, pacing, losing control. Someone in the comments told her Marsh had been talking behind her back. It wasn't true, but truth doesn't matter when Chrisean feels betrayed. She exploded instantly, screaming Marsh's name, accusing him of things he never said, dragging him into a storm he didn't deserve. He fake. He weak. He just like the rest of them. Clips went viral. People laughed. Fans started harassing him. Marsh didn't respond, not publicly, but privately, he was devastated. He replayed the live stream over and over, listening to the venom in her voice. The betrayal wasn't about reputation, it was about trust. He thought they understood each other. He thought she saw him as a human, not a punching bag. But that wasn't the worst part. The next morning, Chrisean doubled down. She posted a story mocking him. She exaggerated lies. She let her followers clown him relentlessly. And once someone is targeted by Chrisean's audience, the damage spreads like wildfire. Marsh's DMs filled with threats. Brands paused their collaborations. His team begged him to distance himself publicly. But Marsh didn't speak. Because silence is how he processes betrayal. What people didn't know was that Marsh had a past, a childhood shaped by people who weaponized his loyalty. Parents who lied. Friends who disappeared. coaches who treated him like a tool. He spent years swallowing his anger because expressing it always led to punishment, so he learned to stay quiet. Until silence became pressure. Until pressure became violence, internal, emotional, mental violence. Chrisean wasn't just a random celebrity. She triggered every wound Marsh tried to bury. And then came the moment that fully broke him. Someone leaked a fake, private message allegedly sent by Marsh, a message claiming he had dirt on Chrisean, that he'd expose her, that he'd use her child as a punchline. It was 100% fabricated. Marsh never wrote it. But screenshots hit the internet like gasoline on fire. Chrisean saw them and didn't hesitate. She posted, "Marsh a snake. I'll slap him next time I see him." That sentence destroyed Marsh. Not because he feared her, but because she turned him into the villain of a story he wasn't even part of. That was the night Marsh disappeared. No calls, no posts, no location tags. His entire team panicked. Friends showed up at his door. Nobody heard a word for 72 hours. When Marsh finally resurfaced, he wasn't the same person. The quiet eyes were gone. The soft voice replaced by a cold stillness. The compassion replaced by calculation. And suddenly, he had documents. He had receipts. He had screenshots people had never seen before. He had video clips from backstage interactions no one else noticed. Where did he get them? How long had he been collecting them? Did someone help him? Did he always have this side of him? Nobody knows. But Marsh came back different. He stopped trying to defend himself. He stopped trying to reason with Chrisean. He stopped caring about public perception. He cared about balance. He cared about reversal. He cared about making her feel exactly what she made him feel. Humiliation. Chaos. Loss of control. That's why the revenge board behind him had phases. Plural. It wasn't a rant. It wasn't an impulsive meltdown. It was a plan. A structured blueprint built from cold emotion and quiet rage. And the scariest part wasn't the board itself, it was the fact Marsh didn't look angry in the leaked clip. He looked calm. Focused. Intentional. Like someone who had finally embraced the part of himself he'd been suppressing for years. Every connected photo. Every arrow. Every circled date. Every printed screenshot. It all meant one thing. This wasn't drama. This was retribution. And Marsh wasn't waiting for Chrisean to realize the damage she caused. He was already executing Phase 1. What nobody expected was that Phase 2 would involve someone extremely close to her. Someone who never wanted the world to know their connection to Marsh. Someone whose name popped up on Marsh's revenge board 3 times. And when fans zoomed in on the board and cleaned the blurred area, one name stood out in red ink. Mookie. But what Marsh wrote beneath that name? That was the real nightmare. And it would flip the entire narrative upside down. When fans zoomed in on Marsh's revenge board and saw the name Mookie scrawled in red marker, they thought it was random. They thought it was messy handwriting, maybe even a joke. But people who knew the deeper layers of Chrisean's world understood instantly. That wasn't random. That wasn't accidental. That was personal. Because Mookie wasn't just any name, it was someone connected to Chrisean in a way most outsiders would never understand. Someone who had been with her during the rawest parts of her life. Someone who knew her fears, her patterns, her explosive triggers, her soft spots, her blind spots. Someone who, in Marsh's eyes, could break her the way she broke him. But before anyone could even process that revelation, another leak surfaced, a screenshot of Marsh's board from a different angle, showing what he wrote directly beneath Mookie's name. He knows the truth she hid. And that's when everything changed. At first, people assumed Marsh was bluffing, using Mookie's name to get under Chrisean's skin. But the more they studied the board, the clearer it became. Marsh wasn't just planning revenge. He was building a chain reaction. A sequence of emotional detonations designed to hit Chrisean in the places she never thought anyone could reach. And Mookie? He wasn't the target. He was the trigger. Because Marsh understood something almost nobody else did. Chrisean never fears her enemies. She fears her past. And Mookie was a living piece of that past, one that Chrisean didn't want resurfacing. Not now. Not ever. But Marsh wasn't just dragging Mookie back into her story. He was exposing something Chrisean had hidden about him. A connection that went deeper than anyone knew. Because here's the twist nobody expected. Marsh and Mookie knew each other long before Chrisean ever met Marsh. That was the shock that detonated the fandom. For years, Marsh and Mookie had kept their connection private, mutual friends, shared circles, late-night conversations that never reached social media. They weren't best friends, but they weren't strangers either. They understood each other in a way damaged men often do, through silence and unspoken trauma. And the link between them? It wasn't gossip. It wasn't beef. It wasn't drama. It was something much darker. Both had been hurt by someone who later ended up in Chrisean's orbit, and that someone was the reason Marsh and Mookie originally stopped talking. The board Marsh created behind the scenes wasn't a revenge map against Chrisean alone. It was a revenge map against the entire chain of people connected to his betrayal, and Mookie was part of that chain. But the part nobody expected, the part that shook everyone to their core, was that Marsh didn't circle Mookie's name as a threat. He circled it as a key. A key to unlocking the one truth Marsh believed would destroy Chrisean completely. She hurt the wrong person because she never knew how much Marsh already knew about her. When Marsh disappeared for 3 days, he wasn't hiding. He was meeting Mookie. And that meeting wasn't friendly. What leaked next was a blurry photo, clearly taken without permission. Marsh and Mookie sitting in a dimly lit parking lot, windows fogged, posture tense. Marsh leaning forward, Mookie leaning back. Both speaking with the body language of men confronting a truth they'd buried. That photo alone nearly blew up the internet. But it was the voice note that followed that sent the fandom into full meltdown. A distorted, low-quality audio clip clearly recorded through someone's pocket or car speaker, capturing just enough to create panic. Marsh's voice. "I didn't come here to fight you. I came here because she played us both." Mookie's voice shaking. "You don't know what you're talking about." Marsh. "I know everything now." Silence. Shifting, breathing. Then Marsh again. "And you're gonna help me whether you like it or not." The clip ended. Nobody breathed. This wasn't petty. This wasn't online drama. This wasn't attention-seeking. This was a man gathering information, gathering alliances, gathering emotional ammunition not to embarrass Chrisean, but to collapse her entire sense of control. And fans started putting together what Marsh already knew. Mookie had information about Chrisean's past. Information she never wanted made public. Information that Marsh discovered during their private meeting. People speculated wildly. Is it about her family? Is it about her son? Is it Blueface related? What are they hiding? Why would Mookie get involved? But the real twist wasn't that Mookie knew something. It was that Chrisean had betrayed Mookie years before, a betrayal Marsh had now weaponized. Screenshots leaked, showing Marsh's handwritten note under Mookie's name. She turned him into an enemy before he could heal. And below that, another chilling line. He still wants closure. This wasn't revenge. It was emotional warfare. Marsh didn't want to hurt Chrisean physically. He didn't want to expose her for clout. He didn't want a social media fight. He wanted her to feel the same collapse he felt when she destroyed him publicly. And the only person who could trigger that collapse? Mookie. Because Mookie held the one story Chrisean fears more than any scandal, the story she spent years burying. The story she thought nobody would ever piece together. A story Marsh now knew. A story Mookie reluctantly revealed during their meeting. A story Marsh wrote in red ink at the bottom of the revenge board. Her biggest lie is coming out. And the craziest part? Phase 2 wasn't even about revealing it yet. Phase 2 was about making sure Chrisean knew he had it. Because the moment she realizes which lie Marsh uncovered, the moment she realizes what Mookie told him, the moment she realizes her entire past is now part of Marsh's plan, that's when the real war begins. And Marsh? He prepared for that moment better than anyone thought he could. Because phase 2 of his revenge didn't involve posting receipts. It involved sending a message. A message that arrived at Chrisean's door the next morning. A plain white envelope. No return details. No stamp. No handwriting. Just one printed line on the front. "You know what this is about." Chrisean froze. Her chest tightened. Her hands shook violently. Because she did know. And the panic that washed over her was so real. So overwhelming. That someone on her team secretly filmed her reaction. And that clip leaked too. In the video, Chrisean's voice cracked as she whispered, "How did he find out?" The room fell silent. Even the camera holder didn't breathe. Because that confirmed everything. Marsh wasn't guessing. Marsh KNEW. And Chrisean? For the first time in a long time, she was scared. Properly scared. Because the envelope wasn't the threat. It was the warning. And inside the envelope was something she prayed Marsh never learned about. But he did. And phase 3? Phase 3 is where everything Chrisean built begins to fall apart. Chrisean Rock had been punched, dragged, exposed, humiliated, arrested, mocked, and betrayed publicly more times than anyone could count, yet she always came back swinging. She always returned louder, tougher, angrier. But the moment she touched that plain white envelope Marsh sent, she didn't swing. She didn't curse. She didn't pace or throw something. She froze, like her entire nervous system flipped a switch. Her face tightened. Her breathing changed. Her eyes lost focus. Because the envelope didn't scare her. The fact that Marsh knew to send it did. Everyone in the room could feel the shift immediately. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. One of her team members mouthed, "What's inside?" But Chrisean didn't answer. She couldn't. Her hands were trembling too violently to even open it. Someone reached out to help. She snapped, "Don't touch it." Her voice cracked so sharply that the person backed away instantly. Because the envelope wasn't a threat. It was a mirror she spent years breaking and hiding. She sat down slowly, silently, and stared at it like it contained a ghost from her past. One she thought was long dead. Finally, after several minutes of suffocating silence, she opened it. Inside was a single photo. A single image that made all the color drain from her face. Her lips parted. Her chest caved. Her fingers shook like she was gripping fire. Because the photo wasn't recent. It was old. Too old. A memory she prayed no one would ever find. A moment she pretended never happened. A decision she buried so deeply she almost convinced herself it wasn't real. The photo was of her and Mookie. In a hospital hallway. Not fighting. Not crying. Not smiling. Standing. Shocked. Traumatized. And between them, wrapped in a thin hospital blanket, was a newborn. Chrisean's voice barely left her throat. He found it. Her team froze. "What is that?" someone whispered. Chrisean snapped the photo shut. "It's nothing. Don't worry about it." But the way her eyes filled, the way her breath fell apart, the way she gripped the envelope like it was cutting her fingers, it wasn't nothing. It was everything. And the people around her realized instantly. This wasn't about Blueface. This wasn't about Junior. This wasn't about the fights everyone already knew. This was something older. Something deeper. Something she hid even from people who helped raise her. Something that involved Mookie in a way nobody ever realized. Because that day in the hospital, it changed her life forever. And Marsh somehow found out. But that wasn't the only thing in the envelope. There was a note. One line. Typed. Not handwritten. "You should have left me out of it." Chrisean grabbed her head and nearly screamed. Because that line wasn't addressed to her. It was addressed to Mookie. She threw the envelope across the room, storming into the hallway, pacing back and forth like she was losing oxygen. She called Mookie instantly. He didn't answer. She called again. Nothing. A third time. Straight to voicemail. Her voice cracked as she yelled at her team. "Where is he? Why he not answering?" Nobody had an answer. And deep down, Chrisean knew why. Mookie wasn't ignoring her. He was avoiding her. Because the truth Marsh pulled out of him, the truth captured in that hospital photo, was something Mookie had sworn never to speak about again. Not to Chrisean. Not to his family. Not to anyone. A truth that, if exposed, could destroy both of them. Meanwhile, Marsh was sitting in his car, engine off, breathing steady, revenge board folded in the passenger seat, watching the chaos unfold from a distance. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't excited. He was calm. Scarily calm. Because Phase 3 wasn't about hurting Chrisean. Phase 3 was about forcing her to confront the person she hurt before she ever hurt Marsh. Mookie. The world didn't know it yet. But Marsh had uncovered that years ago. Before fame. Before Blueface. Before Junior. Before the viral fights and toxic relationships, Chrisean had a breakdown that resulted in her and Mookie being dragged into a hospital after a violent argument. And during that chaos, someone else got hurt. Someone too young to defend themselves. And the guilt of that moment shaped the angry, volatile version of Chrisean the world knows today. The photo Marsh sent wasn't accidental. It wasn't random. It wasn't a threat. It was a reminder. A reminder of the moment Chrisean stopped being fearless. A reminder of the moment her past became too heavy to carry. A reminder of the moment Mookie promised never to expose her. And Marsh forcing that memory back into her life was the emotional bomb he needed to set Phase 3 inches motion. Minutes later, Marsh's phone buzzed. A message from Mookie. One sentence. "You started a war you're not ready for." Marsh stared at the screen, expression unreadable. He typed back. "Then tell her the truth." Mookie's reply came instantly. "You don't get to decide that." Marsh leaned back, eyes cold. "She decided it when she lied about me." Silence. Then another message from Mookie. "If you expose her, you expose me too." Marsh didn't hesitate. Good. Those 3 letters flipped the entire dynamic. Because it meant Marsh wasn't afraid to burn the whole house down, even if it meant getting scorched too. That's when Mookie sent the message that changed everything. Chrisean's already unraveling. If she snaps again, this time it won't just be you she goes after. And that was the line that made Marsh pause for the first time. Not because he cared about the threat, but because Mookie had just confirmed one thing. Chrisean wasn't angry. She was terrified. And terrified Chrisean is the most dangerous version of her. Back at her house, Chrisean ripped through drawers, threw things, screamed at the wall, shouted Mookie's name like he could hear her through the city. Her team begged her to calm down. She refused. "This ain't over. He want to expose me? He think he know me? I'm gonna handle this myself." The problem was, handling it herself was exactly what Marsh predicted she'd do. Because Phase 4 written in small letters on his board wasn't about exposure. It was about provocation. Marsh wanted Chrisean to find him. He wanted her to confront him. He wanted her to show the world exactly what he'd been warning her about. Because the biggest part of his revenge wasn't receipts. It was making her destroy her own reputation with her own hands. And that's when the first public blow-up happened. A random Instagram Live user caught Chrisean outside at 2 a.m. screaming, "Where you at, Marsh? Come say that to my face. I swear to God I'm not running no more." That live stream hit 800K views in minutes. Fans panicked. Mookie went silent. Marsh didn't say a word. Because the domino effect he engineered was officially in motion. And the moment Chrisean publicly acknowledged the envelope, the entire world demanded to know. What happened in that hospital? What secret is she hiding? Why did Marsh involve Mookie? And how far was Marsh willing to go? The truth? Much farther than Chrisean realized. Because the final page of Marsh's revenge board, the one no one had seen yet, had a name on it that would flip the war upside down. It wasn't Mookie. It wasn't Blueface. It wasn't anyone the public expected. It was someone Chrisean trusted even more. And Marsh wrote one chilling line beneath their name. Phase 5. Betrayal. The moment the hospital photo leaked, the moment fans realized Marsh had pulled something from the deepest, darkest corners of Chrisean's past, the internet didn't react. It detonated. Twitter, X, turned into a war zone. TikTok lives ran 24/7 with people screaming theories. Instagram pages posted the envelope like it was a crime scene. Celebrities started choosing sides without even knowing the full story. Hashtags shot across platforms like falling bombs. Number Marsh vs Chrisean. Number Mookie knows. Number the envelope. Number hospital truth. Number Phase 3 started. Number Chrisean exposed again. Number pray for Chrisean. And most terrifying, number what happened in that hallway. Because everyone knew the photo wasn't fake. The pain in that hallway was real. And the silence behind that memory was even realer. Within hours, podcasts released emergency episodes. Gossip blogs flooded with anonymous tips. And even verified journalists started asking questions nobody ever dared bring up around Chrisean. It wasn't just drama anymore. It was historical, psychological, explosive in a way her usual fights never were. Fans were divided. One side said, "Marsh is obsessed, he's taking it too far." The other side said, "No, this is why Chrisean lashes out. This is the trauma she hides." And a third side said something far more chilling. If that baby in the hallway wasn't Junior, then who was it? Theories spiraled out of control. Some said it was a relative's child. Others said it was a friend's baby. Some whispered that Chrisean once took care of a kid nobody knew about. And the darkest theory, the one nobody wanted to say out loud, spread like wildfire in private group chats. What if that wasn't someone else's baby? Meanwhile, celebrities chimed in. Rappers, influencers, athletes, everyone had an opinion. One rapper tweeted, "Marsh ain't lying. That boy quiet but dangerous." Another posted, "If he got the hospital pic, imagine what else he got." A reality TV star said, "Chrisean better tell her side before Marsh do." Blueface, of course, tried to insert himself, tweeting, "I been knew she was hiding stuff, lol, y'all just slow." But he deleted it minutes later. Fans screenshot it anyway. Then Mookie's cousin went live. Shaking, crying, terrified. She said, "We told Mookie to never bring that up again." That day broke everyone. If Marsh found that picture, he found the rest. The rest. That phrase alone sent the internet into cardiac arrest. Because if a single photo triggered this much panic, what else existed? What other evidence was buried? What happened before the photo? What happened after? Who took it? Who else was there? Even worse, why did Mookie look just as traumatized as Chrisean? TikTok detectives started piecing together timelines, old interviews, forgotten tweets, and random posts from years ago. They discovered gaps, emotional disappearances, unexplained fights, sudden changes in Chrisean's personality. And all of it pointed back to one moment, that hospital hallway. While the internet spiraled, Marsh stayed silent. Not a post, not a comment, not a like. And that silence terrified people even more, because everyone realized Marsh wasn't clout chasing. He wasn't impulsive. He wasn't reacting emotionally. He was planning, strategically, systematically, relentlessly. And now that the envelope phase had begun, people feared what Phase 4 and Phase 5 would bring. Journalists tried reaching Marsh for comment. He declined. Reporters tried reaching Mookie. He hung up. But late that night, an anonymous message appeared on a gossip page, allegedly from someone in Marsh's inner circle. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want attention. He wants her to feel what she did. And a second anonymous source said, Mookie tried keeping quiet, but the truth is already cracking. Chrisean's own supporters weren't calm either. Some were panicking. What if this breaks her mentally? This is trauma, not drama. She needs help before she explodes. But others, the loudest group, were ready for a fight. If Marsh keeps pushing, she gonna run him over. He playing with the wrong one. She not scared of him, he scared of her. But they were wrong. Chrisean was scared, terrified. And everyone saw the fear grow when she went live again, pacing, crying, yelling at invisible enemies. She said, "This man trying to ruin me. But he don't understand what he opening up. He don't get what he doing. He don't know what that picture mean." Every viewer paused, because that was the first time Chrisean publicly acknowledged the photo. She didn't deny it. She didn't downplay it. She didn't deflect. She was unraveling. Fans begged her to calm down. She didn't. She screamed, "Mookie better not open his mouth. 'Cause if he do, it's gonna get worse for everybody." Everybody? That single word sent chills everywhere, because it meant the secret wasn't just hers, it involved more people. Marsh saw the live stream, and while everyone expected him to clap back, he didn't. Instead, he posted one Instagram story, a black background, white text, 3 words, "Phase 4 now." The internet lost it. Some thought he was bluffing. Others believed he was just provoking her. But then, a verified lawyer who once worked with Marsh DM'd a blogger with one line. Phase 4 means the circle breaks. Breaks what? Breaks who? Breaks how? Nobody knew. Then a popular YouTuber posted a theory video saying, if Phase 3 was emotional collapse, Phase 4 is exposure. Not of Chrisean, but of Mookie. And that sent fans into a frenzy. Because what could Chrisean have done to Mookie that was so devastating? A single photo from years ago made her new persona crack instantly? Why did he run from her calls? Why did Marsh write, he still wants closure? Why did Mookie admit, if you expose her, you expose me too? And most importantly, what truth is big enough to burn both their lives? The envelope was the beginning. Phase 4 would be the detonation. And Phase 5? Well, nobody was ready for Phase 5. Not even Marsh. Because the final twist, the one Marsh himself didn't see coming, was already in motion. And it involved someone neither he nor Chrisean expected. Someone whose name was written at the very bottom of Marsh's revenge board. Someone whose betrayal would flip the entire war upside down. Everyone thought the war was between Marsh, Chrisean, and Mookie. Everyone assumed the secret in the hospital photo was the center of the storm, the moment that shattered both Chrisean and Mookie. The moment Marsh was now weaponizing. But they were wrong. Because Marsh's revenge board had one name no one zoomed in on. A name written small, almost hidden beneath the arrows, like Marsh didn't want anyone to notice it until the very end. A name he circled once, then circled again, then underlined 3 times. And the word beside that name was more chilling than anything else on the board. Phase 5. Betrayal. But whose betrayal? Not Chrisean's, not Mookie's, not Blueface's. The name was Tazeki, Chrisean's sister, the same sister the internet always assumed would take her side. The same sister Chrisean trusted with secrets she'd never tell anyone else. The same sister who defended her, fought with her, cried with her, and shared every violent rise and fall of her chaotic life. Tazeki wasn't just a bystander. She was the missing piece. And Marsh knew it. Because here's the twist nobody was prepared for. Tazeki had been talking to Marsh behind the scenes. For weeks. Not romantically. Not sneakily. Not to betray her sister at first. But because she was tired. Tired of covering for Chrisean. Tired of protecting her from her own explosions. Tired of being blamed for things she didn't do. Tired of being dragged into drama she didn't start. And most importantly, tired of holding one of the most painful secrets of Chrisean's past. The same secret Mookie had been protecting. The same secret hidden in the hospital photo. The same secret Chrisean feared Marsh discovered. Because Tazeki wasn't just a witness to that day. She was the one who had to clean up the aftermath. And that aftermath didn't stay in that hallway. It followed their entire family. So when Marsh reached out asking questions, Tazeki didn't betray Chrisean. Not at first. She warned her. She told her, Marsh knows too much. Mookie's scared. You need to fix this before it spreads. But Chrisean didn't listen. She exploded. She screamed. She pushed her away. And that's when Tazeki snapped. Because for once in her life, she wasn't willing to go down for Chrisean's mistakes. She wasn't willing to hold this secret anymore. She wasn't willing to be blamed again. She wasn't willing to drown so her sister could keep pretending the past never happened. So Tazeki did the one thing nobody predicted. She told Marsh everything. The full story. The part Mookie couldn't say. The part Chrisean would never admit. The part that turned Marsh's revenge plan into a guaranteed emotional collapse. The part that made Marsh write Tazeki's name in red ink. Because Tazeki didn't just tell Marsh the truth. She gave him proof. Proof Chrisean never wanted to exist. Proof that turned the old hospital incident from a rumor into a documented catastrophe. Proof Marsh hadn't shown the world. Not yet. Because it wasn't time. And the moment Tazeki gave him that evidence, everything shifted. Phase 3 was emotional collapse. Phase 4 was exposure. But Phase 5? Phase 5 was betrayal. Not betrayal from Marsh. Not betrayal from Mookie. Betrayal from the last person Chrisean would ever expect. Because as Chrisean spiraled on Instagram Live, screaming into the camera, pacing in circles, yelling Marsh's name, the internet caught something behind her. A shadow. A movement. A familiar voice. Tazeki. Talking quietly on the phone. Whispering. The camera wasn't meant to pick it up, but it did. Fans enhanced the audio. And they heard it. Tazeki's voice tense, exhausted, whispering. Yeah, Marsh. She opened it. She's breaking. Phase 5 is ready. The internet froze. Did Tazeki just... Did she really? Was that? Chrisean hadn't heard it. She was too busy raging, screaming, threatening. But Marsh heard it. Tazeki heard it. Mookie heard it. And now the whole world knew. The war wasn't Marsh versus Chrisean. It wasn't Marsh versus Mookie. It wasn't even Marsh versus her past. The war was Marsh, armed with the truth. And Tazeki, armed with the final blow. Because the secret hidden in that hospital hallway, it wasn't just about pain. It wasn't just about trauma. It was about responsibility. And Tazeki was done taking responsibility for Chrisean. The last shot of the chapter came from an accidental moment on live as Chrisean screamed Marsh's name. Tazeki looked at the camera and gave the smallest, coldest nod. Not of agreement, not of guilt, but of inevitability. As if to say, she did this to herself. And somewhere across the city, Marsh opened a folder. Inside it was the real document Tazeki gave him. The real proof. The real Phase 5. And with one breath, he whispered, time to finish it. If you're still here after that ending, then you already understand why this story is nowhere near finished. Marsh has moved through every phase of his revenge plan with cold precision. Mookie is caught in the crossfire of a secret he never wanted exposed, and now Tazeki, the one person Chrisean trusted the most, has stepped forward with a betrayal nobody saw coming. The hospital photo wasn't the climax, it was the beginning. Phase 5 is now active. And whatever evidence Marsh is holding, whatever Tazeki handed over, whatever truth Mookie has been hiding, it's about to blow this entire war wide open. But before we dive into the next chapter, here's where you come in, because your theories and your comments shape where this investigation goes next. So tell me, do you think Tazeki betrayed Chrisean on purpose, or was she pushed to the edge after years of protecting her? What do you think was in that hospital hallway that scarred everyone so deeply? Was it a fight? A family secret? Something involving someone they never spoke about? Is Marsh going too far? Or is Chrisean finally being held accountable for the pain she caused? And the biggest question of all, when Marsh opens that folder in Phase 5, WHO, is he exposing Chrisean, Mookie, or both? Drop your theories in the comments, don't hold back. The craziest answers often end up being the closest to the truth. Before you go, like this video if Marsh's final play shocked you. Comment your prediction, Tazeki or Chrisean. Who breaks first? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss episode 2, where the contents of that folder will finally be revealed, and the betrayal line inside it will change everything. This story isn't slowing down. It's only getting darker.